Good Mom and Monday. You're here at the Mistake Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandee.
And we are your hosts. This week, we're going to talk about being the Googling mom. Some of you may know what that is, and if you do, you do. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, we'll tell you. You might be one and don't know it.
Yeah. And if you're not, that's good.
Yeah. But first, our wins, fails, and books.
Wins, fails, books.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything that you can think of off the top of your head?
A win yesterday. So we're potty training, still going wonderfully. This is the real deal. It's really happening.
Yes.
And yesterday we had no accidents. And we went to 2 stores. And he peed at both stores.
Oh, that's so amazing.
He did poop outside, like in the grass in the backyard. Does that count as an accident? He very much was like, gotta poop. Walked into the yard and was like,
I mean, I would say no, that's not an accident because he acknowledged that he needed to do it, went to somewhere that...
I mean, he sees the dogs too.
I was going to say, he knows things can poop in.
Right.
And then...
Because after he did it, I said, well, next time let's try to make it to the toilet because we don't need to poop outside because we're not a dog. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yes, dog.
Yes, dog.
Well, all right. I mean, it's better than the floor or your pants, so...
I wouldn't call that
I didn't really count it as an accident.
No, so. I don't think so.
Yeah, so that's going really well.
That's awesome. I'm so happy for you.
It's crazy because I thought, like, it's going to happen. And then I was getting to the point of it's just never going to happen. And then when, he started to do good with the stickers, I was like, maybe this is it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. But now I'm finally like, it's been almost 2 weeks now. Mm-hmm. My hopes are up.
I am so happy. And it's been like a solid 2 weeks of trying.
I think Friday will be a solid 2 weeks. Yes. Very, very proud of him.
Oh, that's great.
He's doing really good. So
I love it.
No more buying diapers.
Well, for Quincy. Well, yeah. But not for him.
But no more changing 2 diapers.
I would love for that.
That sounds incredible.
Because you've been changing 2 for the same length of time that I've been changing 2. I mean, roughly.
Yeah.
Technically, Ellie's a little bit older, but pretty much same. I wish I was in your shoes. Mm-hmm. My win is related to potty training. We did try the sticker method.
Okay.
We have 3 stickers on our chart so far.
Good job, Damon.
Over a couple days, though.
Okay.
One day he peed, and he was great. He was so excited. Mm-hmm. He was loving being able to put the sticker on the chart.
Yes.
And then the second day, so it's only 2 days worth.
Okay.
He peed and he pooped.
Nice.
And we're actually only doing 1 sticker for poop instead of 2, like I think you were saying that you do. Mainly so that I can keep track of how often it's happening versus having to be like, okay, hold on, 2, 4, 6, that's 3.
Yeah. That's why we switched to the double chart. So it's a pee chart and a poop chart. Mm-hmm. And then typically if he poops, it's because he pees with the poop. Mm-hmm. So that's why, so now I have him do 1 on his poop chart, 1 on his pee chart. Gotcha.
Okay, so yeah, that's what he's doing right now. And his was at 2 different times.
Nice.
So
good job, Damon.
I know, I'm so happy.
So
it was a while ago though. It was a few days. Because we started the P chart the day that you told me about it, so last week.
Yeah.
And so he's done it 2 different days since then. Mm-hmm. So 2 days out of 7. That's something.
I mean, that's how Maverick started. It was very slow going. Mm-hmm. I think I've been saying since we started this podcast that he's almost potty trained.
I would prefer it not take the length of time that we've been doing this podcast.
It's just a few months.
Just a few months. I mean, with him being 3, we are trying to push it a little bit more, or at least we're like talking about it more. We're like, oh, well, did you go potty? Why don't you want her to go sit on the potty? And trying to at least get the idea out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
His choice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he's, you know what? I'll tell you that story later because it's not podcast.
Okay.
Not for the podcast.
Sorry, podcast.
I'll tell you later. What about fails? Do you have any fails?
I have a fail that probably everybody has done a bunch of times, so it's really relatable. I forgot a load of clothes in the dryer, and I forgot to start said dryer. So they were sitting in there for 2 days, just wet clothes in a bundle.
Been there, done that.
I hate that.
I do that more often than I would like to admit.
Same. Usually it's me leaving them in the washer, but I put them in the dryer. And then this new dryer that we have, you have to hold the start button for 3 seconds before it starts. So if you don't quite hold it long enough, I get distracted or whatever, it won't go. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Oh, probably.
Because I remember clicking the buttons and I was like, what the heck, when I went to go take them out.
Yep. And then you sit there and you're debating. You're like, do I put it back in the washer and run it through again? Do I just do a rinse cycle? Do I do a full cycle? Does it smell like mildew?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I dried it because I find if I dry them first and then wash them again, I get better results than just throwing them back into the washer.
Hey, I mean.
So dried them, restarted them. And I was like, this is such a waste of time.
It so is. Ugh.
But yeah.
That sucks.
That's my little fail.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
So I've been making lots of bread and stuff lately. I made the pizza dough and that turned out great. So I was on like a kick. I was like, I'm doing great with this. I'm going to try something new.
Is this last night?
This last night. Yeah.
Okay. I forgot to ask you how it went.
It didn't.
I'm hearing.
I was like, I'm going to try to make some cinnamon brown sugar bread. And it wasn't supposed to be like, you know how banana bread sometimes has like cinnamon and brown sugar in it and stuff. It wasn't supposed to be like that cakey type of bread. It was supposed to just be like a sweet bread.
So almost like when you get like cinnamon toast from like the store.
Yes. Okay. That was kind of exactly what I was going for.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
It just didn't. It didn't turn out. It smelled fantastic.
I mean, kudos to that.
Yeah. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know what I need to adjust because it baked in the oven. It got nice and hard on the outside, you know, like bread does. Pulled it out and it was still doughy on the inside.
Okay, this is weird. But last night we had chili and cornbread. And I made my cornbread recipe like I always do. And mine didn't bake right either. The outside got crunchy hard and the inside was dough.
Weird.
Same temperature, same recipe, same everything. Like, was something in the air?
Shit, must be.
I mean, there was a fire. Did you hear about that?
No.
Like 5 minutes from my house. They were at a level 3 evacuation.
What? Like a forest fire?
Like a field fire.
Oh.
A tractor was...
Oh, was that the vegetation fire on Pulse Point?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Level 3 evacuation. They had to evacuate between like a few blocks or acres.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody okay?
I think so. I don't think there was any injuries, casualties, or anything. It was apparently a tractor in the field working, and then something with the tractor. I guess it's common.
Oh.
Lit a spark, and it got the whole field on fire. I think it was like a 35-acre fire.
Wow.
Right outside.
That poor farmer.
I know. I was thinking, was he just stuck in the middle of this blazing fire? Did
stuck
he get
in the middle
out?
of the fire.
I want to know the story.
He just lost equipment and his field.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, like, was something in the air yesterday that made our bread bake terribly?
Shit. Who knows? Ugh.
We can blame it on that. It wasn't you, Kaylee.
It wasn't me. See, it wasn't me. I did everything perfectly correct. I'm a master baker.
Yeah, that's weird.
What about books? Or are we skipping?
I mean, I'm still reading the same one, but I'm at like 60-something%.
Okay.
So we're getting there.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nothing's changed for me either. All right. Anyways. And moving on. So, being the Googling mom.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean to you? Like, what for you, what's the definition of a Googling mom?
For me, it's a mom who every little thing that pops up for their kid, whether it's good or bad, they're heavily researching.
This is me.
This is me as well. More so with Maverick than Quincy. I've kind of cooled my jets a little bit. But with Maverick, it was like incessantly, what's this little speck on his cheek? What's this little, or maybe it's not just a Googling mom. Maybe it's a texting your other friend moms. What is this?
Also me. I tend to text you a lot because you have some nursing experience. Yeah. And I'll be like, what is this?
Yeah. Which is totally fine. I usually the Googler.
Me too.
And that gets scary.
It does.
Because Google likes to take you down a dark path.
It really does. And I used to always make the joke in high school with some of my friends. Like, they'll be like, oh, I really don't feel good. And I'll be like, well, don't Google this because it's either going to say you have cancer or you're pregnant.
Yes.
Because it does.
It does.
It'll be like, oh, common things that have this symptom that you're feeling. And then it'll be like pregnancy. What is it? Sometimes it'll be like, let's say you're nauseous or something, you know, stomach cancer.
Yeah, literally. And it's like the main ones that pop up.
Yeah, it's always like the first 3.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay, wow, okay, I need to call my doctor.
Next one down the list, Crohn's disease. Like, you just get all of lupus. You're just getting all these horrible things. And you click on it, you're like, oh, what is this thing? And it's like, oh, 30% survival rate on something. And you're like, excuse the fuck out of me. What?
And then 2 days later you poop and you're like, oh, I was just constipated.
Oh, it was just gas. It's all good. Or a big one, you're like, oh, that's okay. We're fine now. Unless that makes you go, why did I fart really big? And you Google that too.
Yes. It's just never ending.
It is. It's never ending.
Yeah. And it's hard too because, if you have a condition or if your kids have a condition or whatever, you want to do your own research. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you find some wild things.
Yes.
And then you go to their doctor and they're like, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Everything's fine. Let's just not worry about it.
Yeah.
You're like, but all these studies says all this. And they're just like, it's fine. And you're like, can I trust you?
Exactly. Now, I will say there are obviously some times when, Googling things, doing your research, as long as you're using reputable sites and stuff.
Right.
Use Google Scholar. Can actually be beneficial. Mm-hmm. One example that I guess I can give where being the Googling mom, Googling friend, came to somebody else's benefit, was a friend of mine. She was mentioning how, she was having this like rash on her legs and some other symptoms that I can't remember off the top of my head. But like every doctor kept just dismissing her and being like, oh, we'll just put you on birth control and it should control all of these things. Because they said it was hormonal. Rashes? It was like rashes plus a whole bunch of other things. The rashes is the one that sticks out because that was the one that made me decide to Google. So I can't remember what her other symptoms were.
Got you.
But I know one of them, it was like her cycle was all messed up. And they were like, we'll just put you on birth control.
Why is that the answer for everything?
I don't know. But I remember I was like, okay, let me Google this because her rash was very specific. Turns out she had celiac disease.
Oh.
And she saw like 4 doctors, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong. But she saw a lot of different people and they all were just like, oh, birth control, oh, birth control, oh, birth control. And then I was like, ask them about celiac. Just ask.
Yeah.
Because it seems to fit your symptoms. I was right.
It's just... And that's almost the scary thing. And that's almost why I'm a Google mom. Because you hear about these stories of like the doctors weren't listening. The doctors couldn't figure it out. And then the mom figured it out or the friend figured it out. And you're like, so should I keep Googling?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because doctors are told like, if you hear hooves, assume horse, not zebra.
Right.
And well, yeah. But if you can prove that it ain't the horse, it's got to be something.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess there's something to be said, too, about the medical field. And, most doctors can't spend a whole lot of time on just one case because they have so many other patients.
Yeah. And it's definitely not like Grey's Anatomy where someone comes in with a headache and then they're running like thousands of dollars worth of tests. And then it turns out to be a brain tumor that they wouldn't have found otherwise.
Yeah. That they had to get this special machine from this special hospital.
Yeah.
And
it's never like that.
That would be nice.
It would be, because then we'd actually have doctors who, would be able to find all of these zebras that exist out in the world.
Right.
Versus assuming everybody's a horse.
I saw this thing on, what was it? Oh, it was on the Kardashians.
Oh, okay. You watched that? I don't. Yeah. I'm judging a little.
I'm a raunchy reality TV watcher. I don't care what it is. I may not even support you, but I'll watch it. I'll watch the drama. I don't care.
Okay, fair.
Anyway.
Fair.
And the mom, they have this facility where you can go and you get like a full body scan and they'll tell you literally everything wrong with you. And I'm like, why isn't that just a normal thing for everyone? I mean, it probably costs a lot of money. But
it's probably very expensive. And I'm sure no insurance covers that.
Probably not. But you would think, like, that's preventative, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Technically?
I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily preventative, because preventative
or
is
at
like
least
taking measures to avoid something versus catching it early. But
I guess it would be just catching it early. Or seeing the warning signs if like something is starting to get inflamed. Okay, that could lead to your appendicitis or whatever,
Yeah, but I mean, then we're looking at like the conspiracy theories. And I say conspiracy because it obviously hasn't been proven. I'm not necessarily saying conspiracy in the sense of like this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. So it piques my interest a little bit. The idea that, you know, they would go those extra miles for celebrities because celebrities make a whole bunch of money and, you know, provide in the economy and stuff and have power, whereas us little nobodies to them, there's no benefit in
because we can't afford their services anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and why would insurance cover a $10,000 test? Right. If not more.
Oh, I'm sure it's more.
Probably way more. Yeah. 150,000.
She was like in the machine for like 2 hours.
That's got to be like $1 million test.
Fully
right there.
Scans everything.
That's $1 million test.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, because hospitals have no problem dishing out millions of dollars worth of, you know, stuff and billing the patient for their kid being in the NICU.
Seriously. Healthcare could be a whole nother topic.
That's a whole other topic.
That's a sensitive topic for some people.
A very sensitive topic. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes being the Googling mom can make a really big difference. Mm-hmm. And in both directions, though. Right. You know, because you might Google something and be like, my kid's this. And they're not. Your kid's just hyper. Right. You know, or they're just, you know, crazy.
Right. Or they're just going through a hard time right now. And maybe they're not necessarily depressed, but when you're searching all these symptoms, it shows up depression, you know, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Because I remember, so Maverick, he had a heart murmur.
Yes. And I remember you were very scared to look at that stuff.
But I was looking it up nonstop. And I was finding all these things and that it could lead to this and that it could cause breathing issues and it could cause, you know, just so much. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being fine. It closed in a year, which is normal. Mm-hmm. But it's scary.
It is.
And I think, like, sometimes Googling kind of calms that fear because you see, okay, well, it could just be, you know, these things and they resolve themselves. But then also the flip side of it, sometimes you Google it and then you get all those things where it's your baby's going to die. Yes. You're like,
oh my God.
Okay. So emergency room. We go.
Exactly. And I mean, so like one example of this would be like, so Ellie, she has her hypomyelinosis of Ito. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a collection of things that, you know, presents in one way and then has a high likelihood of having, what is it, co-diagnoses. There's a name for it that I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay. Of multiple other things. Mm-hmm. Scoliosis, some eye problems such as strabismus. What is it that, like, I have it too, the eye thing where your eye is like longer than it should be. Astigmatism. Oh, that's what that is. A bunch of other things, including autism being one of them. You know, so she has a higher likelihood of having those things. Right. And so I am hyper focusing on all of those things. Right. And, you know, one, because she has the diagnosis and I'm aware of these things, but also because I'm like constantly Googling things. Yeah. I'll be like, why isn't my 14-month-old walking yet? Like, right. Oh, it could be scoliosis. Do I talk to her doctor?
Right. Yeah. And it could just be that she's just on the later end.
Yeah. Which is normal.
Right. Yeah.
You know? Or on the flip side, you'll be like, why is my 8-month-old walking?
Right.
Oh, they're a genius.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It can definitely get to people's heads that like their kids are either failing terribly or, wow, they're going to be president of the United States.
I saw that happen a lot with COVID because they were like, oh, yeah, all these COVID babies, they're all lifting up their heads at 2 weeks old. Like, don't all babies do that?
Yeah. Or you just, now you're at home more and you're...
Yeah. You're aware.
Yeah, you're aware more because you're hyper-focused on the home life versus outside world.
But they're like, I Googled it. That's not normal. And, you know, or I Googled this and it's like extraordinary or whatever. It's like Googling things. Like, it's great that we have this, the access to, you know, this amazing resource that can provide so much. But it has made us ignorant to so much. And then hyper aware of
way too much. Yeah. Way too much.
And it gives people this almost a sense of entitlement sometimes of the I know better than you because I read this study.
Yeah. And lately, this isn't Googling, but it's still internet. A lot of things are, you know, I read this yesterday, I saw this yesterday, and it's a TikTok.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Oh, I'm guilty of it too, 100%. But it's like you get stuck in this, like, you see something and you almost immediately believe it's true because it's on the internet, even though we've been told like a million times, don't believe everything you read. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I find fascinating is you can Google either side of the coin and
you'll find evidence.
You'll find evidence for either side.
I could literally Google, is the sky orange? I mean, technically sometimes it is, but or green. Yeah. The sky's never green, right?
I don't know.
I don't think so. It's like blue, purple, black, orange, and yellow, and red.
Yeah, I wouldn't say green.
Okay, so let's go green.
Okay. Whoops, sorry.
No, is the sky green? And I bet you I can find at least one article that would support it. Probably because in some areas of the world, blue and green are considered the same color.
Right.
So, yes, but also no.
Yeah. It's just, it's frustrating.
It is.
Because then you get into an argument with somebody. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, no, I saw that the sky is green. I read this article and it's, a lot of times it's from,
reputable sources.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the other person's like, no, look at all these articles that say it's blue. And you're like, well, but mine says it's green.
Yeah. And it's like, in the example that I gave, technically both cases would be correct.
Right. Yeah.
Because if green and blue are considered the same thing, then technically, yeah.
Yeah. Then both things can be true.
It can be true. Yeah. Just not necessarily in what we would consider, American culture. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if in that specific place it's considered blue or if it's considered green. All I know is it's considered the same color.
Yeah.
There's no distinction.
It's frustrating.
It's really frustrating. And then on top of it kind of goes along with it too. Because when I say Googling, Mom, I mean just you're researching. It doesn't really matter where you're pulling it from. Right. But you are going onto the internet to find an answer for a question that you have. Mm-hmm. Mom groups.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of amazing resources online, on mm-hmm. Facebook, on Instagram, even on TikTok. Mm-hmm. There are great resources that can give you amazing, solid evidence.
Right.
And then there are the ones that don't.
Right. But they make it sound like it is.
Yes.
I feel like they make either them sound like they are someone of expertise that you should listen to, mm-hmm. or they link all these sources. And a lot of times I've noticed people don't check those sources because if you click on their links that they're sourcing, it's like also WebMD or mm-hmm. Some made up.
I think WebMD actually is legit.
Are they? We were always told never to use WebMD when I was in nursing school. So that's why.
Is it WebMD or is it Mayo Clinic? I think Mayo Clinic is legit.
I think Mayo Clinic is fine.
That might be what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah. I think WebMD is sometimes a little rough.
I think WebMD can be, but it's not updated as often as it should. I think that's why.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I just remember in nursing school they were like, don't use WebMD.
Interesting. Okay.
If you source that, you will get a lesser grade.
I wonder why, because I remember maybe it is just Mayo Clinic that I'm thinking of. That is the right one.
Maybe.
I'd have to do some research.
We'd have to Google. Yeah, mom groups though, they're kind of scary.
Yeah. Because
you also get the mob mentality where if you're the one that has the different opinion or you're the one who came up with, hey, that's not right, you shouldn't be spreading that around. Mm-hmm. Then they all viciously attack you you're the bad person.
Yes. You are suddenly just a fish in a frenzy. Mm-hmm. And it's brutal sometimes. Sometimes they'll go to real life and be messaging you, your boss, trying mm-hmm. to get you fired, trying to get your husband to divorce you. For saying that maybe a 5-month-old shouldn't have a cookie.
Right. Yeah.
Or something, just, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And especially because a lot of the things that those groups will be supporting are things that probably, or in most cases, have solid evidence against.
Right. And my thing too is, if it works for your family, great. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody else.
Exactly.
And so spreading that this is the only way and this is the way you should do it, I feel like it's just dangerous all around.
It is. Yeah. And now with AI being such a really big thing. AI is making articles. AI is making videos that look really real. AI is using voice modifiers to make it look like people are saying certain things. I watched this video the other day. I don't remember where I saw it, and I don't remember what exactly it was about, but it was President Trump.
Okay.
And it was an AI video. They said it at the end that it was AI and that it was fake. But it was like him, and it looked and sounded exactly like him. His lips moving perfectly with the words and everything, saying that he wanted to bomb America or something.
Oh, God.
And it was fake. But the point of the video was to explain that this is
happening.
This is happening. This is how real it can look.
That's
and it said
scary.
in like the bottom corner, it was like, this is created with AI. So like...
Well, and what's crazy too is, you know, most of us spend the majority of our time online. And so seeing a video of somebody, you automatically think, well, that's just, you know, somebody held up a camera and that's what they're doing. So to make it look like that's what's happening, I would believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be hard to, I mean, unless you start questioning everything. But then I feel like the internet is going to drive us all into insanity one day. I swear. Already. I swear. Because of stuff like that.
Yeah. And it creates a special bias where you start to only believe the things, or you only really see and hear the things that fit whatever narrative you're hoping to push for, and then ignoring the rest.
Right.
So if you want to believe that water is toxic, you're going to read something that says dihydrogen monoxide is bad for you.
Right.
If you've seen a previous episode, I mentioned, I don't remember either. If I can find it, I will link it.
Yeah.
Dihydrogen monoxide is just H2O.
Yeah.
It's literally all it is. But, you know, things will use big scary words.
Right.
To make you think that something is bad for you or whatever. And then you'll just latch onto it. And then you won't do further research to, okay, well, I read this thing that says dihydrogen monoxide is really bad for you. Right. Sounds big and scary.
Yeah. Sounds like we should stay away from it.
But then you don't continue the Googling part of being a Googling mom and look up what dihydrogen monoxide is.
Right.
Like, it kind of creates this, you only Google what supports your narrative versus continuing to Google to find both sides.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, well, I'm so whatever on this topic. But when you only Google half the topic.
Yeah.
And you're not Googling the other side. Like, researchers will
Google both sides.
I mean, they probably don't Google things.
Well, yeah, they probably
they'll test both sides.
Yeah.
You know, if they wanted to prove that, for example, like women who smoked way back in like the 70s and earlier during pregnancy,
right,
and babies being born small, they tested the theory on both sides. Okay, is it, you know, oh, they could have done the, oh, well, not all babies who are born to mothers who smoke are small, so it doesn't qualify. It doesn't work. That would be doing half the research.
Right, yeah.
You know, whereas they determine like, okay, well, you know, they are more likely to have smaller babies by X% or whatever. Yeah. And then they were able to determine the correlation. They were like, it is causation in this case.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and with a million other things that cause cancer, things that, you know, car seat safety, you know, all of the things that we know were tested on both sides.
Right, exactly.
And then all these internet warrior Googling moms, trust me, I'm part of that too. I'm not judging because I fall into that category as well. I just try to do my due diligence when I'm able to catch myself, because I do. Sometimes I catch myself and I'm being like, oh, well, this thing says, and I'm like, okay, hold on, let me take a step back.
Right.
Because I'm getting overzealous in this. Let me research the opposite.
Right.
And then I find evidence for the opposite. I'm like, okay, so something, there's got to be a middleman in the middle where I'm not fully understanding.
That's the hardest information to find, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like peer-reviewed articles, I think, are the best, because then you're getting a bunch of people who are coming in and, like, you know, talking about the topics and then coming to a consensus. But sometimes those aren't easy to find, or sometimes they're hidden behind a paywall.
Oh, I hate that.
Me too.
You
can tell we're on Google a lot.
Yes. I try really hard, especially now, and I didn't start doing this until after I started getting some of my degrees that I have. I have a bachelor's in alternative medicine, which makes me sound real crunchy, I know. But ever since then, because we were taught to only rely on credible sources. Mm-hmm. You know, specifically my degree is focusing on complementary medicine, so working with current modern Western medicine, not working against it.
Right.
So I'm not over here telling you to cure your cancer with honey, okay? We actually had to do a thing on that. We had to find something that was like so super duper crunchy, mm-hmm. and basically be like, this isn't real.
This is not true.
Yeah. And then find a way to kind of integrate alternative medicine with Western. Like, yeah, that was what the whole thing was about. But it was really funny to find those things because we had to find an absurd claim.
That would be pretty absurd.
It was.
You see those all the time.
That was the one I used.
This one pepper from the mountains of blah 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 blah. If you eat it 20 times a day for the rest of your life, you will never have cancer.
Never have cancer.
You're like, oh, okay, I need to do that.
Yeah. And I think we had to mention where the claim came from, mm-hmm. and give our hypothesis on how it went so far. And in my example, it was because honey has like antioxidants and antibacterial properties. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, it probably said that antioxidants can help prevent cancer.
Right.
And then it just morphed into honey cures cancer over time as people just kept playing like telephone.
Yep.
Literally.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what I see a lot in mom groups, mm-hmm. is telephone just being played. They'll be like, we're in Mom's Group United 101 on Facebook or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, in this other group that I'm in, Sassy Moms, I saw this post from another group called like Boss Moms that, and then just goes back and back and back until the original person that first posted it was just like, I just made a meme. What are we talking about here?
Right. This was meant to be a joke, not meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. It's, yeah. Man.
One example that I can actually give, it's really funny, and I only just recently started to see this. You know my uterus video? Mm-hmm. I have started seeing people share that, saying that it happened specifically with third babies. Somehow that is being...
Because it was your third baby?
Because it was my third baby.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a couple other people in the comments being like, oh, this happened with my third baby too. Just coincidence. Mm-hmm. There are other people that have had it happen and it's never, they've never been pregnant. I saw those comments
and they were like, well, I guess I'm not having another baby because I already have two or something.
But I saw some people are starting to share that as like, it's with your third baby. This is what
happens when you have a third baby.
Yeah, you're more likely to have a uterus prolapse with a third baby when that's not true.
Aren't the chances the same for any?
It technically becomes, your chances are higher the more children you have, only because of those ligaments stretching. Oh, but if you do anything that causes those ligaments to stretch, including horseback riding and a few other things, it can increase those chances as well. Oh, okay. It's just whatever stretches those ligaments.
Yeah.
I think even contortionists have a higher chance too because they are literally stretching those muscles a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even being in menopause.
Oh, okay.
That increases your chances by a lot, actually more. Postmenopausal, not going through it.
Oh, okay.
So once you are done through menopause and you are on the other side of it, and you are,
what do you call it then?
I think it's postmenopausal, but I feel like there's a different term for that.
There's another term too.
Somebody
Google it.
I'll Google it and I'll put it on the screen for you. If you're watching. If you're listening, sorry, SOL, you gotta do it yourself. But you're more likely to as well because those muscles start to relax and those ligaments they just all relax. But people are sharing it.
That's funny.
Saying that it happens with third pregnancies specifically, and I'm just watching. I'm just like, it's coincidence.
And that's how the internet goes.
Literally. And I mean, technically, I'm more likely to have it happen again in the future.
Since it's already happened.
Since it's happened to me. Yep, right. Once it's happened once, it's more likely to happen again. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen worse.
Right.
But it could happen again. So,
makes sense.
Just gotta be on the lookout, I guess. And that's regardless of if I get pregnant again.
Right.
It could literally just happen when I've been a baby.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I can't imagine just like if you were just hanging out with a friend. Mm-hmm. You're just like, so by the way, my uterus is coming out again.
Oh, hold on. Gotta go. Just shove it back up there.
It's okay. I know what to do this time.
They said just put it back in. Which
sounds daunting.
excuse me, let me grab a toilet paper roll and just call my midwife really quick. Yeah. But like people will use anything as evidence.
Yeah.
Like I literally made that video sitting in my bathroom with the toilet paper roll acting as my phone with a voice filter on, and yet people are using it as evidence.
Yeah.
Because I saw it on TikTok.
That I just hear so much now. Mm-hmm. Well, I saw it on TikTok, and you're like, and?
Yeah. Also with anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
People use that at like a weapon. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it happened to me, so, or vice versa. It didn't.
Happened to my friend, or,
I put my infant just on the back seat and she didn't die, so car seats are not necessary.
Yeah. You hear that from older generations, too, because, like, what worked for them, now research has come out that, yes, maybe it worked for most of you, but that is not the best way.
Mm-hmm. And things also change. Like, using the car seat, for an example, you know, the current, or at least in our state, I know certain states have like lesser laws or whatever. In our state, children must be rear facing until at minimum 2 years old, preferably until they max out the seat.
Right.
And then there's other things for the upper whatever is forward facing and yada yada yada. Sorry.
What was that?
I hit.
Oh.
I hit my thing and then I almost bumped this. But so, you know, we have those laws, you know, for a reason. Mm-hmm. And one argument that I see on that, and we're not going to get deep into this because this is its own conversation. One thing that I see is like a kid will be upset rear facing. Maybe they get, you know, car sick or whatever. And the solution that people give is, oh, just turn them around. Mm-hmm. One, it's illegal. You can't do that to a 1-year-old. I've also seen it as young as like 4 months old. People are turning. Yes. 4 months old forward facing.
That's so scary.
I can like kind of ignore it if it's just before the age of 2. Kind of. Kind of. Not exactly, but I twitches a bit.
It's like just old enough that you aren't going to actually say something to them, but you'll go home and think about it all night.
I'll go home and I will be like hyperventilating on it. Yeah. Being like, I hope that kid doesn't go anywhere until they're 2.
That kid's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But they'll say, turn the kid around. Mm-hmm. And the reason, you know, and someone, let's say somebody comments back, and this is a Facebook war. Somebody comments back being like, you can't do that because, you know, their pelvis and their whatever bones are, you know, not fused. And, well, my kid was fine. We had just those like high chair looking car seats back in my day, and my kid was fine.
Or it was like the bassinet in the front,
literally the window or whatever. Yes. But like things were so different back then, you know, because, you know, cars were a lot slower back then.
Right.
You know,
and bulkier,
I feel like. Slower. You didn't really travel far. Mm-hmm. Or if you did, it was like once in a blue moon. Yeah. You're not going from fucking Corvallis to Portland. Right. You know, that almost 2-hour long drive in some cases. You're just staying in your small town. Right. For the most part. Yeah. Very rarely do you leave it because you don't need much. Mm-hmm. You don't have electronics, so it's not like you really know that there's a restaurant up in Portland.
Right, exactly. Unless you heard it word of mouth.
Yeah. Which none of your neighbors are going up there either, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
No Albertos for you.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
But times change.
They have.
And it makes, you know, and then evidence changes and circumstances change. You know, that's why, you know, things get tested regularly because our world is changing so fast. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's why, you know, even just certain things that I was researching back when I was first pregnant with like Anna, like Zofran was not considered an issue back then, and now it's not recommended for pregnant people. Right. Because it can cause birth defects. It can cause birth defects. Yeah. You know, whereas 5 years ago when I was pregnant with her, that's not a long time. Yeah. It was considered fine, and it was, you know, recommended.
Even when I was pregnant with Maverick, they were starting to like, some evidence shows that we probably shouldn't, but, you know, you're still probably fine. Yep. And I was like, that's really not reassuring.
Yeah. When I was pregnant with Ellie, they gave me some.
Yeah. When I was pregnant with Quincy, they gave me some.
I think I took it like once or twice, but I definitely didn't take it nearly as often as I took it with Anna. It was like if I was literally feeling like I was dying.
Yeah.
Other than that, I tried to do the B12 and biotin. Or no, B12 and...
Unisom.
That's what that
I was like...
yeah. B12 and Unisom.
Yeah.
Or is it B7? B7? 9? 12? The B vitamin.
B2?
I guess I'll Google that too, because I don't remember.
B6.
No.
No.
I don't think so.
I still have some in my cabinet.
So do I.
I just can't. I'm trying to imagine the bottle.
It's okay. Unisom and
B. Unisom and B.
Do you have your phone?
Unisom B. I'm hoping it'll just pop into my brain.
My phone's over there, so
Google.
Just put on the screen. Being Googling moms.
Unisom and B6.
Oh, it is 6.
I was right.
Okay, sorry.
Somewhere in there, I was right.
I'm sorry for doubting you.
I shouted several things, so that's okay. Yes. And that works. By the way, if anyone is curious.
It does.
At least it's worked for me and it's worked for Kaylee. It didn't take away... Sorry. It didn't take away my nausea completely. But on the days that I took it, I typically did not throw up.
Yep.
I would still be nauseous, and sometimes it would still be atrocious. But typically on the days that I remembered to take it, I was not throwing up.
And because it's a vitamin, you can take it every single day and be completely fine.
Yeah.
Because even Unisom, it's a sleep aid, but it's a vitamin sleep aid. You know, it's not like you're taking Benadryl.
Right.
Which can have its own problems.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's amazing just how quickly things can change. And being in the changing times that we are, being a Googling mom has very much its ups and downs.
Right. Because like you said, you know, we could have Googled something 5 years ago and it's fine, but now new studies are constantly coming out with the advancements in technology and stuff. And so now that same article is probably like, well,
things have changed.
Probably shouldn't do that now.
Exactly.
And that probably freaks me out the most, because I'm like, what am I doing today that in 10 years they're going to say, this is why you're dying.
I know. Same. I feel the exact same way.
It's kind of like, what was it? The people who worked with asbestos.
Oh,
And now you see all the like commercials that are like,
all of them are dying.
Your loved one was working with asbestos in this year, please contact us. Because it's like, now you have all these cancers and you're probably dying or dead. And like, what? Because back then to them, they were like, this is, you know, whatever.
Just
I go home. I have a chronic cough. Like, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Asbestos-induced lung cancer.
Not me still having a cough from COVID.
Oh. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like it's just something that's always just there. It's annoying.
One of my favorite examples of chronic Googling is that vaccines cause autism.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite example.
That exploded.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Especially because the original article, it turned out to be bias, and he had to go back and say,
yeah,
I lied.
Didn't he write a book too about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
He heavily influenced
millions of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he influenced the results of his studies. I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, it was like he asked autistic people to come in with their parents, obviously, asked them if they got vaccines, and then that was his evidence.
Oh.
Or something along those lines. Like
I don't remember that.
He only did the research on the one side, from what I remember. It wasn't complete. It wasn't peer reviewed or anything. But it was such an outlandish claim that it got so much media attention that even now to this day, after it has been said that this study was wrong and it was a lie, it is still such a heavily supported argument.
And that's the scary thing, is sometimes if bad information gets out to the public, you can't really take it back. You can't reel it back in, because now everybody's got it and now everybody has believed it.
Yep. And there's always going to be people out there who, once they believe something, they will never do research again around that topic.
Once they're told something, they're like, this is truth. Yes. This is Bible.
That's its own thing. That's its own can of worms right there, Mandee.
Yeah. We might close off that can of worms.
That'll be its own topic. Religion on the podcast.
Let's see how many people
or not.
Yeah. Never seen episode.
Episode following tanks.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Some people just they take something. You tell me that cats have purple skin. And I'm like, wow, yeah, they do. And I start telling everybody in the neighborhood, did you know that cats have purple skin? And people are like, wow, yeah, that seems legit.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then it just spreads like wildfire.
Yep. I will say that sometimes if I'm told something that's kind of outlandish, I will initially be like, wait, really?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'll be like, hold on, I gotta look that up.
Right. And then if it's wrong, you're like, no.
I'll be like, it looks like only in 0.75% of cases that can happen, but that's called that's a disease called violetism. I don't know.
Right. I feel like that's how TikTok is, though. They find like the most rare things and then post them as if it's just truth. Mm-hmm. And it is, but it's incredibly rare, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you research it and you find out, oh, that's only true in such a minute population. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to worry myself with that.
Yep. It's its own whole big thing.
I think that's also why anxiety has increased in this world. I think because of the internet and because of all the things you can Google and because of what pops up when you Google. It's not just it's going to be fine. I feel like every time you Google a question, it should just pop up with a page that says, it's going to be okay. Take some deep breaths
there
before you click onto the next page.
Yeah. That might even cause panic attacks, Mandee. That might itself cause problems. Even just trigger warnings can be a trigger warning.
That's very true. Gosh. It's, yeah. I guess Google at your own risk.
Yeah. It's so hard because, you know, the internet has provided so much access to information that we didn't have prior. Mm-hmm. It's provided connection, communications, knowledge that we just wouldn't have otherwise. But it has caused so much. It's caused people to become hypochondriacs. It's caused people to diagnose themselves and people that they know. It's caused people to be like, I, for whatever reason, want to have this disorder. Or maybe they like want to give an answer for themselves. Mm-hmm. And be like, well, and I think this is what a hypochondriac is. They'll research something and then they will kind of adopt those symptoms.
Right.
You know, or they will start to see things where things don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, and we will take this information and we run with it so far and fast that it is so hard to reel it back. Mm-hmm. And then if you start going and telling other people things,
it keeps going.
It keeps on going. Like if I decide today that I am a fairy because I have a tiny nose. I don't know. I'm just making something up at this point. And now I Googled that in books fairies have tiny noses. I'm going to now believe that all people with tiny noses are fairies. And I'm going to go tell somebody else that I know, hey, Mandee, you have a tiny nose. You are a fairy. Did you know that? Granted, this is completely outlandish and nobody would believe me. But what if you did? And you were like, you're right. I am a fairy. And then you go tell your mom. You're like, Mom, I found out today that I share a lot in common with fairies. And you know what? I think I can't take myself seriously when you're laughing that hard. You tell your mom that you're a fairy now too. And And this is not relating to anything in particular. This could be, I don't care. Depression, cancer. This could be that you're, I don't know. You have Munchausen's. I don't fucking know.
Right. An allergy.
An allergy even. That's actually a really good example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, because I get a rash around my mouth when I eat ranch. I must be allergic to dairy, when in reality it's the acidity, you know?
Right, yeah.
We are so gullible as a species.
Yeah.
Which we should evolve past this if we can, because it's such a problem.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mother is so gullible to the point where, hey, there's a spider. See?
Well, okay, in my defense, there was a spider over there a couple episodes ago.
She looked over, guys.
I did.
Point proven.
Fell for it. But no, I know what you mean. You start to read something, and that's the other thing is, you know, you'll Google your symptoms that you're having, and it pops up with you have bipolar depression. Mm-hmm. And then you go seek care, and they're like, well, actually, you don't have bipolar depression. You have blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
You know, but if you take that and run, and you're spouting that, then, I mean, I guess, I don't know who you're really harming. I guess you're just spreading misinformation, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, even stuff like that can be harmful, you know, because let's say that you truly believe that I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that, I don't know. Somebody can get offended by anything.
Well, that's very true.
Let's say I believe that I have lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like that's one that I could very much not get. So let's, not put that out in the universe. But we'll do it for the podcast.
Knock on wood.
Okay. Is your wall wood?
I don't know. There's got to be some wood beams in there somewhere.
But let's say that I have, or that I believe that I have lung cancer. Mm-hmm. Let's say I go to the doctor and they tell me that I have asthma, but I am dead set. And I'm like, Mom, I think that I have lung cancer. Or, I think, husband, I think I have lung cancer. And I go around telling people that I'm going to start getting sympathy.
True.
From people. The church down the road might start contributing to helping me cover costs for, lung cancer.
That
I don't have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, let's say somebody believes something huge and then it turns out to be false. Right. Sometimes they'll hold on to that falsehood.
Yeah.
Because they're embarrassed to admit that they were wrong.
Right.
So not only are we gullible, but we are also kind of vain.
Yeah.
And we don't want to admit fault.
Right.
And the three of those together can make, being a Googling mom, Googling person, whoever you are, but I mean, in this case, we're moms.
Right.
It can cause a lot of issues.
That's true. That's really true. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, a lot of people don't want to admit, when they are wrong in those situations because they've heavily researched or heavily decided that, this is truth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It reminds me of that show on, I think it was on Hulu, about the true story. I can't remember her name. Gypsy?
Oh, Gypsy Rose.
Yes.
Yep. Her mom had what is not called that anymore, but it used to be called Munchausen's by proxy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's called anymore.
I didn't know that it wasn't called that anymore.
I think as of this year or last year.
Oh, okay.
It's no longer called that.
They're always changing things.
Yeah. Always changing things.
Perfect example. Yeah.
But yes. Mm-hmm.
Or she just heavily believed that her daughter had all these things.
Mm-hmm. But she would go through and manipulate tests and stuff.
Yeah. And doctors and neighbors and organizations and.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there was, I want to say it was an episode of Grey's Anatomy, but I could be wrong, so obviously this is fictional. Some lady was giving her kid, or maybe it was real, I'm not sure. Not necessarily Grey's Anatomy. I read this somewhere, or I saw it somewhere. Some lady was giving her child very small doses of salt through her IV or something to make her sick.
Oh.
I don't remember why.
Okay.
It was a Munchausen's by proxy type situation. She wanted her child to be sick. I don't remember. Like I said, it could have been Grey's Anatomy. It could have been that I saw a documentary on it or something. I want to say that it was Grey's Anatomy, but I'm watching that right now and I can't find an episode. Or I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not sure. But they wanted the child to be sick so bad because they wanted the sympathy.
Those ones I really just can't get behind. If you want to make yourself sick to get sympathy, that's a whole nother can of worms, but to then purposefully make your own child sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I can't wrap my head around doing that to a child.
Neither can I.
It's sickening that people do this. Like, actually sickening.
Yeah. And it's just, it sucks. And so, all of this, someone can be normal and then go on to just like this Googling kick and then get sucked into it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it can truly be detrimental, especially for new moms.
Yeah.
Because they are the ones that I see who struggle the hardest with it. During pregnancy, they get the tiniest bit of news, like a subchorionic hemorrhage.
Which usually resolves itself.
Right. They see that in some cases, it gets bigger and then... in some cases, it gets bigger and causes a problem. But in most cases, it doesn't. That's like, the same statistic of being like, oh, well, if I get in a car, technically there's a chance I could get in a wreck. But most of the time, I'm not going to.
Right.
But it's those small numbers that are spoken so loudly.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of people only ever hear about the bad things, is because it's the bad things that are said so loudly and are put so big in front on like the first page of Google results, and then finding the statistics that are more true and then also just more positive, I guess in this case, more positive, but maybe more on the side you'd prefer to be on, whether that's positive or negative, are so much harder to find.
Right.
Because we emphasize crazy shit.
Literally. And I don't know why.
I don't know either.
I mean, maybe it's one of those things where, like, I like watching drama. Maybe it's something like that. Something to do with, can't turn away from a car wreck kind of a thing. Like,
that's what I was just thinking.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But it's hard because it influences your whole life.
It does. It so does. And then not to mention, too, if you believe a certain statistic and then you fall out of that statistic for whatever reason, like cycles, menstrual cycles, 28 days, you ovulate day 14. If you believe that, but you aren't that,
right,
you can potentially cause a lot of problems for yourself.
Yeah.
For example, you might think you only need to be careful between day 10 and 15. And then you get pregnant because you actually ovulated on the 16th, 18th.
Right, yeah.
If you're like me, closer to the 20th day.
Right.
Or you don't have a period until cycle day 32, and then you think you're irregular because technically there are some months where you don't have a period.
Right.
Because it'll technically fall at like the end of March and then not again until the beginning of May.
Right.
I had to math in my head really quick.
Yeah.
And that's simultaneously a lack of Googling, as well as it can be over Googling because you see things as like, oh, 28-day cycle, 28-day cycle, 28-day cycle.
Right. Because that's the average. So that's what they post everywhere.
Exactly. And if you don't dig enough to try to find, something that fits your situation more, then you're going to believe that something's wrong with you when it's not.
Right.
I went through that for years thinking something was wrong with me. And then I finally started paying closer attention.
Right.
And it was like, oh, I'm regular. But not
exactly. Not
normal.
Normal regular.
Normal regular.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Information. I almost think there's too much that we have access to.
It's almost like that phenomenon of if you give a kid too many options, they become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then they can't choose.
I'm overwhelmed.
Same. Same. So let us know. Are you a Googling mom like us? Do you over-examine everything like us? Are you overwhelmed like us?
Check out our overwhelm episode.
Yes. Because we're there with you. I Google way too much.
Way too much.
I try not to.
I try not to as well. I try when I'm catching myself. I'm like, okay, just put it away. Or if I start finding too much negative stuff, I just tell myself, just put it away.
Yes.
Doesn't always work, but
nope, doesn't always work. I find that if I'm Googling something medical and something crazy happens, watching Grey's Anatomy actually helps me. Because their stuff is way crazier.
Way crazier. Yeah. Or you should start watching House. Because those are even crazier.
I've watched a little bit of House.
Yeah.
For some reason, House drives me nuts, though. I can't deal with his crazy eyes.
Oh, he's nuts.
I don't mind him, though. But his crazy eyes drive me bonkers.
He's constantly in a state of this.
Yes. What are you talking about? Yeah. I've seen a couple of his episodes, and I'm just like...
Yeah. Just constant panic.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways. Let us know what you're Googling.
Yep. What's your Google kick right now?
Yeah.
Because I fall into rabbit holes sometimes.
Same.
I'll Google a hair color and all of a sudden I'm looking at
genealogy.
Yep. And the genealogy turns into why King Tut was incest. Like...
Yeah.
Like, it...
Yeah. We've all been there, though.
All been there.
I think in this age, I don't know anyone who's of age to be Googling who hasn't gone down a Google rabbit hole.
Yes. And I mean, they can be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be detrimental, though.
Yeah. So you got to be careful.
Very, very careful.
Yep. Don't believe everything you read.
No.
That
or
still holds
see.
true. Yeah. Or see. Especially now.
Or hear.
Apparently that now, too. Just don't believe anything. This is all a lie. Don't believe what we're saying. Just kidding. But really, don't believe everything.
Yeah. I don't know who I should tell you to listen to because things
listen
change.
To your gut.
Yes, listen to yourself. If you think something is wrong, go seek help.
Because honestly, if you've Googled something and then your doctor says no, and you really, really, truly believe, then just keep going. Keep fighting that battle.
You'll either get proven wrong or you'll come out correct on the other end.
Right. So, well, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.